Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Controller's Council and the webinar on Achieving Finance Reinvention, 5 Steps to Real Transformation. We are going to ease into this webinar. I know a number of people are still joining, signing in, coming out of their meeting. So we're going to do some housekeeping, some introductions, lay some groundwork. So like I said, no rush. I know people are still joining and we don't want them to miss the information that's up front. So I think by the time we're at about 3 or 4 minutes past the hour, we'll be getting into the heart of our webinar. So let's do some housekeeping. I assume most of you have attended webinars at some point in the past, especially throughout this pandemic. So the rules are pretty much the same as what you've attended before, although we've got a few new twists for you. We've got some audio and our web troubleshooting problems. We'll try and help you out with that. Use the chat window. You're all on mute. You're not on video. You can sit back and relax. We do ask for questions and participation. So we've got the questions panel or the Q&A button to ask us questions throughout the webinar, any of our speakers. It's anonymous, the participants are not going to see your questions, so go on ahead and jump in. The next point here is an important one. There is a reward or rewards for great questions. So we're looking for that participation. We want to answer the questions that you have, and there's going to be some follow-up afterwards with some nice prizes. I think to spoil it, we are going to give away at least one copy, if not more copies, of the book that this webinar is based on, written by Brian Sommer, our distinguished guest and main speaker here today. So when you get engaged and ask us some questions, we want to give you his book. All right. I will be pausing Brian throughout the webinar a few times to read out loud some of the questions that you've asked and make sure that you get some answered. We'll stack up a few and answer them at the end as well. We're recording this, so we'll be sure to send you a copy of the recording so you can share with others who may have missed it. And there's also a white paper on this topic. So, the 7 to 10 page condensed version of what we're going to be learning today. So you can keep that as a handy reference as well and share that with your peers who are looking to figure out business transformation and financial transformation. Now, this is not a webinar for CPE. We're not giving CPE credits, but we do have some polling questions in here, and it's really just for fun. And so we can get a sense of who you are as an audience. We can shape some of our discussions to suit you. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. We'll do some introductions. The guy who's been speaking for 3 minutes, that's me, Mark Gervase. I'm Director of Product Marketing at Bill.com. I am a former CPA, former corporate finance guy. I've done a lot in the world of finance, and well, here I am in marketing, so you can connect the dots there. But I've been working in financial technology for, years and years now, despite years and years of also with that finance background, really a split personality. And I'm really passionate about this. I've been working with customers to digitally transform their finance org, their finance operations, their financial processes for years. And across the way, I've come across one of the sharpest minds in this whole universe of finance and business transformation, Brian Sommer. So I'm gonna let Brian introduce himself, and he's got a slide later on some of his credentials. We'll spend a little more time with Brian in a second, but Brian, a brief intro and hello to everybody.
Well, hello, everyone. And as Mark said, I'm Brian Sommer, and I'm known mostly these days as an industry analyst, but I cover all things related to finance and ERP. And yes, I actually did a 2.5-year bit of research on digital transformation. And I'll, for those of you who don't feel like reading a book, I'll give you a couple of the highlights of it here in a few minutes and how it's relevant to the change that finance has to do going forward. But first, let me go back to Mark. Mark, take us on through here the agenda and first polling question.
Will do. Thanks, Brian. That's exactly what we're going to do. is after this, we'll ask you guys a couple of questions. So we're on our housekeeping and introduction. We're going to talk about some key themes in reinvention. Really start at the high level. And we're going to look at some economics, right? This is the Controller's Council. Let's look at some of the numbers, break down old versus new technology economics. And then the turn, right, where we reimagine the new future. This is part of any key presentation, anything you've got to keep in your mind if you're going to sell your organization. Reimagining the future and how to do that, how to sell the change, how to make the case to make things better for you, your team, your organization. We'll do a little summary and wrap up. We'll do a little commercial, intro to bill.com. Bear with me. We'll talk a little bit about who we are and how we can help. And throughout, and certainly at the end, we will get to your questions with our answers.